They say betrayal cuts deep, but what wounds the most is when the person who betrays you believes you'll never walk away. My name is Ethan, and for the last 15 years, my life revolved around my wife, Jessica. I built a home for her, supported her aspirations, and gave her everything she could have possibly wanted. In return, she gave me lies, deceit, and infidelity. What made it unbearable was her reaction when I confronted her. She stared me straight in the eyes, smirking, and said, "You'll never leave me. You need me." That moment changed my life. I realized that the woman I had poured my heart into for so many years didn't respect me. She mocked me. She saw me as weak, someone who would tolerate anything just to stay by her side. But she had no idea who she was dealing with. I didn't just walk out of her life. I made sure the day I left would be the one she'd regret forever. This is the story of how her arrogance became her greatest mistake. Before diving into this story of cold revenge, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. We share real-life tales of love, betrayal, and the most chilling karma you'll ever hear. If you enjoy stories of justice served, hit that subscribe button now. Jessica and I met in our early 20s. She was magnetic, confident, beautiful, and charming enough to light up any room. I was captivated from the start. We married young, built a life together, and for years, I thought we were happy. I worked long hours to build a stable future for us. I climbed the career ladder, making sure we had a comfortable home, luxurious vacations, and financial security. Meanwhile, Jessica pursued her dream of becoming an artist. I supported her every step of the way, paying for her art classes, renting her studio space, and funding her exhibitions. But apparently, all that wasn't enough for her. Looking back, I should have noticed the warning signs. Her wardrobe began to change. Outfits that were far more daring, but only worn to her art events, never around me. She was glued to her phone, always smiling at texts she wouldn't let me see. She started coming home late, claiming she was networking, yet her clothes carried a scent that wasn't mine. She became distant, both physically and emotionally. She avoided intimacy, made excuses, and stopped looking at me the way she once did. Her mind was always elsewhere, as though I no longer existed in her world. The biggest blow came one evening when she said she'd be attending an art exhibition and would be home late. It wasn't unusual, but something about her demeanor that night felt off. My gut told me to investigate, so I did something I'd never done before. I followed her. I drove to the event, parked nearby, and watched as she entered the venue. But instead of heading into the gallery, she crossed the street and went straight into a hotel. My heart raced, my stomach churned. I didn't want to believe it. I waited for 20 minutes before I went inside, pretending to look for someone, and then I saw them. Jessica, seated at the bar with a man I didn't recognize. They were laughing, holding hands, and leaning into each other like a pair of infatuated teenagers. I felt my world collapse, but I didn't make a scene. I quietly took pictures and recorded a short video, then walked out without a word. I wasn't going to plead or argue. Instead, I was going to dismantle the illusion of control she thought she had. The next morning, Jessica walked into the kitchen like nothing had happened. I was seated at the table with my laptop open, the photos displayed on the screen. "How was the exhibition?" I asked casually, keeping my tone steady. She smiled. "It was great. I met some really talented artists." I turned the laptop toward her. "Did you meet them at the hotel bar too?" Her face went pale. For a moment, she was speechless. Then she laughed, shaking her head dismissively. "Oh, Ethan, don't be so dramatic." She rolled her eyes and added smugly, "You'll never leave me. You need me." That was the moment my love for her evaporated. I smiled at her and replied, "You're absolutely right, Jessica. I do need you." Her confidence returned, and she smiled back, thinking she had won. "Exactly," she said. That's when I slid a set of divorce papers across the table. "I need you to sign these." Her smug expression vanished, replaced with shock. For the first time, She realized she wasn't untouchable. She assumed I was like other men, easily forgiving, too weak to stand up for myself, and terrified of being alone. But she couldn't have been more wrong. Here's what I did. First, I froze our joint bank accounts. Jessica had never held a real job. Every penny she had access to came from me. Then I canceled all her credit cards. No more shopping sprees, no more indulgent luxuries. Next, I exposed her affair. I sent the incriminating photos to her family, our mutual friends, and even anonymously uploaded them to her art gallery's website. The truth was out for everyone to see. Then I took back the house. Legally, it was in my name, so she had 30 days to pack her things and leave. To make sure her life unraveled completely, I sent the evidence of her infidelity to her gallery sponsor. They dropped her immediately. Overnight, her art career was destroyed, her lavish lifestyle gone, and her reputation shattered. The day I left, I packed my bags in silence. Jessica was sitting on the couch, glued to her phone, probably messaging him. I walked to the door and paused. Turning back, I said, "You told me I'd never leave you. I just wanted to make sure you'd never forget the day I did." Then, without another word, I walked out. A few months later, I heard through mutual friends that Jessica was struggling. The man she had cheated with dumped her as soon as her financial support dried up. Her art career was in ruins. Her sponsorships revoked, and her once luxurious lifestyle had crumbled. She was left with nothing. She called me once, her voice shaking. "Ethan, I made a mistake. Please, can we talk?" I smiled as I listened to her plead and calmly replied, "No, Jessica, you made your choice. Now you have to live with it." Then I hung up and blocked her number. Betrayal is always a choice. And when someone chooses to betray you, you make sure they regret that choice for the rest of their life. Jessica believed I'd never leave, but I walked away and left her with nothing but regret. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more real-life tales of betrayal, revenge, and the ultimate justice. Sometimes, the best revenge is letting them drown in the consequences of their own mistakes. Thank you for watching.